Hi, my name is John Hershey, and I'm a Customer Success Manager at Refinitiv. Today, I'd like to tell you about Codebook and show you how I use it to do some analysis on spread data for some emerging markets fixed income instruments. Refinitiv collects data from over 200 exchanges and venues with both real-time and time series data on millions of instruments, so there's no shortage of content to choose from. Now, even though I chose to focus on emerging markets, conceptually you could apply these exercises with a little bit of tweaking to any market or asset class. If you're not familiar with Codebook, just think of it as a new, easy way to interact with our data. It's built on open source and integrated right into Icon and Refinitiv Workspace, including the web version, giving you seamless access to our leading content and capabilities. Best of all, it offers a modern API experience and comes preloaded with all the popular Python libraries. So let me show you what I did. The first step here is importing the packages and the app key. And then we're going to gather our data. So here, you're going to search for a list of RICs. For my particular example, I searched for global sovereign bonds in Brazil with a duration greater than 1 year. And that gives me my data frame of instruments here. I'm going to use these RICs to generate a RIC list, which is what the get data formula wants. And that's what this does here. And you can see I have my list of 18 RICs here, and it shows you that it's a list. And next, I'm going to set my fields. So here, I set the fields that I'm interested in, and then I can take both the RIC list and these fields and pass them to this function to get a data frame with real-time data. So here are my 18 bonds. And you can see all the information that you want to see coming in. And next, I'm going to do a simple scatter with a single y variable with a modified duration for the x and the z-spread for the y. Pretty simple. Next, I'm going to add another dimension with a size as the amount outstanding. So you can see the different sizes of the amount outstanding, and that gives you a little bit more insight. Next, I said, well, let's look at two variables. Let's look at the z-spread versus the benchmark spread. So to do that, we have to first convert this data to what's called long format. In newer versions of Plotly Express, you won't have to do this. But you basically have to take the benchmark spread and the z-spread and put them in their own column, and then delineate which type of spread it is. So once we've gone to a long data frame, we can very simply plot it. And as you can see here, it wasn't long before I decided to add some more parameters to this to improve the look of the graph, change my hover data, and also get a little more sophisticated with the color. So I can tell when the z-spread is above or below the benchmark spread. Next, I said, well, what would it look like if I wanted to see this data over time? So to do that, I populated the data frame with the time series data. And here it's simple. You just specify your fields. And here's when I should say, be sure to get familiar with Code Creator and also the data item browser, because they will be very helpful in determining which fields are best suited for your application. But once you've done that, the formula again is very simple. Here I'm going to start with today and go back 365 days. That gives me my list of about 4,600 rows of my different spread data. You'll see here that the spread data isn't listed, and that's because the bond simply wasn't in existence back in July of 2019. So next I want to clean up my data. I want to sort it by date for plotting, and then give the date field a little bit more of a human readable look, which I've done here, and you can see the resulting data frame. Now that I have all this time series data, I want to take my reference data from the first data frame and merge it into this second time series data frame. To do that, we have to change one of the instrument column names here, and so I just changed it from instrument to RIC. And that will allow you to call this merge function with the instrument and the RIC as the keys in either data field. Once I've done that, I've got my 4,600 rows of data and all my spread data along with all my reference data. So once again, we convert it to long format, which will double our number of rows. And then we simply build the scatter plot using the date for the slider. It's a very simple formula call, as you can see as before, just with a few more tweaks. I did change the X and the Y range because this data moves around a lot. So once I have the data, I can just click play and it will nicely animate it. And you can see right around late March with the pandemic and all the stuff going on with interest rates, the modified duration tighten as well as the spreads go pretty crazy here. And you can then also grab the slider and change it to any particular date you want and go ahead and take a further look. Now you'll see that some of the data points and some of the dates are not there. Particularly here, you can see this bond drops out because it didn't exist. And you can also see there's some missing data points for whatever reason at certain parts of the analysis. But that's one of the nice things about Python is it's very forgiving and your whole model doesn't break just because there isn't a data point or two. So then I wanted to do one more example. I took a curve spread example and I used, let's say, 4 different spreads over time: the Z-spread, the government spread, the asset spread, and the asset swap spread. So the first step was just gathering the data, and I just used the chain for Petróleos Mexicanos to get my RICs. And from here, I use these to set my RICs. And now that I've got my RICs here in this list, I'm going to set my field's name. And I'm just going to pull in the name field and the tenor, and I'm going to rename those to name and tenor. And now I want my time series data for these RICs. So again, I specify these particular spreads along with the date field. And then it pulls in this nice data frame with about 4,000 rows and all the different spreads. Okay, and then I want to, again, merge the reference data from the original data frame here into my time series data frame, just like I did before, renaming to merge and running the merge. And now I want to prepare this data for plotting. So I will take this data frame and I'll break out the tenor years and give it its own field just so that it's an integer so that I can sort on it later. And then I will sort on the tenor years and the date. And then I will give the dates a human readable field. Next, I convert it to long format like I did before. And you can see our rows go from roughly 4,000 to 16,000 because we have 4 different spread parameters we're looking at. And then I simply plot the data. And again, when I hit play, you can see that this will run in place, or I can just grab the slider. And you'll see in late March, these spreads sort of go all over the place. So as you can see, Codebook is a fantastic new way to easily and develop your ideas with some code that will help you gain insights and understanding on whatever data sets that interest you. So I hope you found this information helpful. Thanks a lot.